My name's Faith. I'm 16, and it was always just me and my mom. I don't know much about my dad. Actually, I've never met him. All I know is that my mom really loved him. When she told him she was pregnant with me, he confessed that he was married and then abandoned us both. Mom moved to the suburbs and brought me up alone. I love to dance, but Mom couldn't afford dance lessons, so I taught myself by watching online videos. Mom loved watching me dance. Seeing her look so proud made me feel proud too. Then, something awful happened. When I got to high school, my mom got in a car accident, and she passed away. So I went to live with my mom's sister, Aunt Clarabelle. Then I started my new school. Everything was new and strange. In class, my teacher told me to sit next to this pretty girl called Anita. I smiled at her, but she just laughed and made fun of my backpack. For the rest of the day, Anita made snide comments toward me, and all her friends looked over at me and laughed. I felt so alone. It was horrible. That evening, I tried to release my frustration through dance. My aunt walked in and saw me spinning in the living room. She seemed pretty impressed and told me she'd sign me up for the dancing center in town. I was so excited, as this meant I'd finally get professional lessons. In my first session, I walked in to see Anita there. It turns out she's also a dancer. On seeing me, she said, "Oh no, not another loser." All the other girls laughed, but I tried my best to ignore her, as I was here to learn. I noticed how all the other girls at school gathered around Anita and stuck to her every word. I wasn't sure why this was. Were they afraid of her? If any girls dared to question her, she'd say mean things about them. I once saw her chuck one girl's phone in the bush because she hesitated when Anita asked her something. My school life got better, as I made friends with this girl called Rian. One weekend, one of Rian's friends was having a party, so she invited me along too. Anita was also at the party, and it wasn't long before she announced a battle dance game. Everyone just stepped back to two sides and revealed an empty place in the center, and then the music played. Anita began to dance first, and when it was the other side's turn, everyone looked at each other, and suddenly, Rian pushed me into that space. At first, I stood there confused, but after being cheered by everyone on my side, I danced. Everyone applauded, and Anita stormed off in a huff. After that, kids I didn't know started talking to me. I didn't feel like such a loser anymore, and it was all thanks to Rian and my love of dance. I guess Anita saw it as me stealing her limelight, and she didn't like it one bit. So she started playing mean tricks on me. One day, during a basketball lesson, Anita and some of her friends threw a ball towards me while I was walking out from the toilet. Fortunately, Cameron, this really cute guy, leaped up and caught the ball. Then he asked me if I was all right. I looked over at Anita. She was so mad. I figured that she probably had a crush on Cameron, as most girls do. When school finished, I went to the parking lot and found both my bike tires punctured. I started to panic, as I didn't know what to do. Then Anita and her friends walked past. She had the biggest grin on her face. That's when Cameron came to the rescue. He took me home on his motorbike and even offered to pick me up the next day. After this, Cameron and I started hanging out a lot. The problem was, the more time I spent with him, the worse Anita became. She stuck gum on my chair, which ruined my skirt, and meant I had to walk around with my sweater tied around my waist all day, even though it was cold. She hid my backpack so I had no books or anything in class. She laughed and pointed at me every time I passed her. I remained calm and didn't show any anger towards her. I didn't care about Anita. She was just a mean and jealous girl. Cameron and I started dating, and then we became an official item. For the first time in a long time, I was actually happy. Then, the most anticipated event of the year finally came. A talent show was taking place for kids in the area, and my school held auditions to find the best acts to represent them. With encouragement from Cameron and Rian, I found the confidence to sign up. And of course, Anita signed up too. I had practiced hard for the auditions, but then an unwanted incident happened. Do you know what? Someone had stolen my dancing shoes right before my turn to perform. That day, when I was warming up in the dressing room behind the stage, Cameron called, saying he was outside with a drink for me. "You're so sweet," I said to Cameron. Then I noticed that Anita was smirking at me from the next chair. I just ignored her and ran to get my drink. But as soon as I returned, I couldn't find my dancing shoes anywhere. Panicking, I frantically searched for them, but nope, they'd gone. Then the judges called my name. Shoes or no shoes, my performance had to happen. So I went out there barefoot and began to dance. A few minutes into it, one of the judges stopped the music. I thought they were going to tell me I wasn't good enough. But no, instead, they asked Anita to lend me her dancing shoes. Needless to say, Anita looked very annoyed. After the dance, I returned Anita's shoes to her and said thanks, but she growled at me, then stormed off. I bet that she was the one who stole my shoes. Although I lost my dancing shoes, I got the talent competition place. Needless to say, Anita was super mad. For the whole week, she was constantly shouting at people. I kind of felt bad for her close friends. Anyway, it was none of my business. I didn't have time to think of her. I needed to prepare for my performance. For the next few weeks, I practiced whenever I could. Cameron was so supportive and helped me the best he could. Finally, the contest day arrived, so we took the bus there. Anita and her friend sat on the same row as us. She tried to flirt with Cameron even though he didn't care about her at all. And when the bus went around the corner, she even pretended to fall onto Cameron's lap, then touched his chest. Talk about shamelessness. When we arrived there, it was so busy with heaps of kids from other schools. I began to tremble and tried my best to control my breathing. There were a total of 15 performances selected for the final round, and all other contestants were very talented. After the welcome and introduction ceremony, the performances began. Nervously, I was the final contestant. Walking onto the stage, I greeted the audience and started. The performance was going well, really well. Then suddenly, darkness. Everyone was noisy, and I stood there still and bewildered. People said that someone must have done something with the power lines and caused a power cut. I was very confused and didn't know what to do. Then suddenly, about 3 minutes later, the headlights from 2 cars shone on either side of the stage, illuminating me. Then I saw Cameron, Rian, and some of their friends were in the cars. Suddenly, Cameron ran to the stage and carried a mini pull speaker, and the music played again. The whole audience was silent and held their breath. The music was quieter, but since everyone was now silently watching me, I continued my dance. I completed my performance to applause and cheers, and that's when the lights came back. Everything was just awesome. I was really touched at that moment. I guess I impressed the judges as, guess what? I won first place! Right after the awarding ceremony, I went down and hugged Cameron and Rian. I had the best boyfriend and friends in the world, and I was so grateful. After that, I entered the dressing room and found Anita crying. I asked her if she was okay, but this only made her cry even more. She sobbed out and pushed me. Why is it always you? Why are you so lucky? Why do people all like you, not me? I replied, Anita, sorry, I did nothing to you. I just let everything go as it is. Tell me what happened to you. Then she looked at me in tears and said, it's me. I cut the power. I wanted to ruin your performance, but I only made it even more amazing. I asked her, why would you do that? And she replied, because ever since you showed up, I felt like a nobody. You're a better dancer than me, and Cameron likes you, not me. I know many people would have been mad at her, but I just felt sorry for her. So I sat down next to her and gave her a hug and said, you're an amazing dancer. I wish I could do the twist and punch like you can. Yeah, I am pretty good at that, aren't I? After a while, she managed to smile. I really am sorry for everything. Now, Anita and I are friends. We often practice dance routines together, and at the end of the term shows, we even perform together. Guys, adversity is the mother of wisdom. We should never be pessimistic when facing difficult situations. Let's try our best to overcome it. The results will not disappoint you.